Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the GGB Supplier Showcase Series. As always, I am your host, Jess Marquez, and I am joined yet again by a familiar face, a friend of the program who needs no introduction, but I'll give her one anyway. Julia Carcamo, President and Chief Brand Strategist at J. Carcamo and Associates. Julia, how are you doing today?
I'm good. It's the end of the year, so we're wrapping things up and planning things for next year. It's kind of an exciting time.
It really is. And, now that, one thing about being under the Clarion umbrella for us is we have kind of like double busy season where we go from G2E and then we have a little bit of a break and then we go into ice again.
Nice.
So,
Mhm.
I can definitely relate. And obviously the focus is already very much on next year, which is hard to believe. 2025 does not sound like a real number or year, but
No.
here we are. So what I want to start with today is kind of a topic that we've touched on before, and that is your fractional marketing services. And what I want to do is kind of just get the latest update on those, and kind of what has the feedback been like, and kind of just how has it been with those services so far this year?
Oh, well, it was a new offering for us this year. I'm really happy with it. The properties that we worked with, their feedback to us has been really great. And I get very emotional when people tell me, how their teams have changed and how they're doing better work now, because that's always our goal is to just create better marketers in whatever way that we can.
No, and it kind of goes back to what we've said before on this space, where it's like, this industry is so diverse, and whether it be in geography or resources or just
Yeah.
all of those things combined, but yet we're all united by a common thread, and that is the need for services such as those. So I would imagine that the range of feedback, or kind of the web of people who are utilizing those services, must be pretty vast and pretty diverse. So I'm sure that must be a nice feeling.
Well, we're still growing it, so it's not vast yet, but we hope
Sure.
to get to vast, right? I can't wait to call it vast.
Sure.
Um, but we're also, it's not something that everybody really kind of is attracted to. You really have to see a need for bringing an outside resource in. And a lot of times casinos get they get sort of mind blocked because they think I've got to hire a consultant and a consultant's a lot of money. And consultants can be a lot of money, but they can also be the right amount of money. It just depends on what you need. And so what we tried to do with the fractional service is create that kind of space where we can do what you need.
For sure. And I'm sure, that'll definitely be a bigger, like you said, on the road to vast next year and beyond. So we'll definitely be
Yeah.
continuing to monitor that as time goes on. Speaking of, kind of evolution and next year and beyond, I'm sure, knowing you and just knowing how these type of things work, I'm sure you've been hard at work on training programs for next year. Well, I'll start with, it's kind of a two-part. So let's start with kind of a year in review. How have you assessed your guys' training blocks this year so far, and kind of what does the calendar look like for next year?
So we actually did have some learnings. I feel like maybe we were extending a little too much into the regional areas and creating too many events that were not unique. So we're going to actually scale that back a little because I think that we can provide more quality this way. And so we, of course, will still have the New Orleans event that's going to be in March. That's always going to be our signature event. It's our way of looking at a 360 view of casino marketing. But one of the big surprises, pleasant surprises we had with boot camp this year was our mid-year event, which is designed to help casino marketers plan. And we literally sat with 30 casino marketers and worked on calendars for next year. What's going to happen on this day in January, on that day in January, and this day in February and March. And it was so exciting to watch these teams work together and create these calendars and find new ways of engaging with customers that they want to put on their calendars. And so we're going to actually keep that one as well. Might make it a little earlier because we want to get a little further into the calendars and try to expand it a little. So I think that we have a little wiggle room for a few more attendees than we had this year. So this year we had 30. I think that we can move a little further into that number for next year. And then we're going to probably still do something in the Northwest. The Northwest has been a big market for us. They really like it, but we may concentrate it on a subject matter. So instead of doing a mini version of New Orleans, I'm thinking doing something that's maybe all digital marketing, email, SMS, app development, the whole kit and caboodle when it comes to digital marketing. Um, we're going to do our webinar series. This is going to be our 6th year doing a webinar series. We take a subject, and instead of doing just one webinar that's 45 minutes, we break it down over like 6 or 7 or 8 sessions. And this year, we're going to work with the slot manufacturers to really kind of open the doors to casino marketers in what's available for them to market these wonderful products that our operations people are putting on our floors. So we're going to probably do a slot manufacturer for each session. I talked to a few of them at G2E, and they're really excited about the idea of doing it.
So that's fascinating, and that's something that, someone like yourself who's been in the industry for a long time has seen a lot of trends kind of come and go. How has that relationship kind of evolved in terms of, casinos and, the marketing people at casinos specifically and, the manufacturers? Because that's something that I see a lot now in terms of like slot launches and premieres and things like that. And I'm kind of curious about that. So how has those two sectors kind of interplayed over the years?
So I think that way back when, slot marketing used to be a really big part of what casinos did, because if you got a new product on the floor, you always wanted to have an exclusive. You always wanted to invite your best customers to try out the machines first. And that kind of fell by the wayside. I think that we all got so, from a marketing perspective, so involved in how are we doing emails? How are we going to get the millennials in? I mean, all these other puzzles that we were trying to solve. And we sort of left slot marketing a little behind us. So some properties are still doing a really great job. I'm not going to say that they're not, but there's so much more potential. But I think that casino marketers don't know how to get the assets. They don't get a chance to really understand the products and why they're designed a way to appeal to a certain type of customer. So I think that that's what we're going to do with our webinar series. I'm really excited about that.
For sure. And, I'm sure, like you said, that'll have some great information out there. And I
Yeah.
can't, I'm interested as somebody in the media who sees a lot of these materials. I'll be fascinated to see how kind of they evolve. Because even since I, came into the industry a mere 3 years ago, they feel like even then it's a little bit different. And obviously there's various factors that impact that, whether it's the pandemic and so on and so forth. So it's a fascinating evolution for sure.
Yeah, the
Um,
manufacturers have done a really great job because they've really formed these partnerships with influencers to try to like really focus on the products themselves. This is just sort of bridging the gap between the casino and the manufacturer and trying to connect them a little bit better.
Definitely, definitely, and I would definitely agree, but with that for sure. Um, One more thing that I kind of wanted to ask you about that you have told me about that I think is really interesting is you have released a marketing toolkit that has, as I understand, free downloadable content
Yep.
for marketers. Um, from starting just from a general perspective, kind of how long was that in the works for, and kind of what was your vision for that content?
So, a couple of years ago, we created a casino marketing plan template, really simple, really bare bones. It gets downloaded consistently. Like I'm always surprised. I just am constantly getting this item downloaded. So I started thinking, I write a lot. And so how do I take the blog posts that I'm creating or the articles that I create for GGV? How do I take them and create usable tools for people to be able to have handy and to help them in their work? I know it doesn't make too much sense because hopefully they would hire me to do the work, but that's just not going to happen with 946 casinos, right? And so um, I thought, well, this year I want to update the casino marketing plan template because we were really making a big focus on the boot camp event that we had in the summer that was calendar planning. And then I thought, well, what else could we create? Like, what other tools could casino marketers use? And so I started saying, well, let's see, can I do something every month? That didn't work out as planned. But we updated the plan template. We had done a brand standards checklist that we updated as well this year. But then we added new things like the brand voice and tone tune-up kit. We did some storytelling exercises because, I think that branding in the future and loyalty to casinos is about creating experiences and stories that people want to tell other people about. And so we created a storytelling toolkit, and we're just going to kind of create these toolkits. We've got, I think that I'm working on maybe doing something for loyalty program design, because that's a big popular thing that people try to update their loyalty programs, but sometimes they just need a little more guidance and kind of toolkits. Maybe some campaign management toolboxes, something interactive. The list is endless, and we actually just launched it today. We're calling it our Casino Marketing Toolkit Collection. So we launched it today. We've already gotten some downloads today, and we're going to just keep adding to it and try to provide useful tools for casino marketers.
Sounds great. And so you've mentioned that this will be like an evolving thing, kind of a living thing. So do you plan on having any sort of set schedule of like, I know you mentioned the one per month, but is there anything like anything else coming down the road that you might have like tied to specifically, or kind of what's your plan on terms of updating that content?
So we're working on a digital transformation toolkit. That one has turned into a bigger project than I ever imagined. So that's taken a longer time than I had hoped for. I know that I had a casino marketer that had asked about, a checklist to work with social media influencers. Others have asked about a partnership and sponsorship kind of guidelines and toolkits that they can use to help formulate those sponsorships and those partnerships. And I think I also want to do something that's, maybe some gamification or community involvement tracker. Our properties do a lot of work in the community, and we don't always do a great job of tracking it. I mean, if you thought about how many hours of just volunteerism out of all of the employees that are employed by casinos across the US, that number would be amazing, right? And so just little things like that. Maybe I wanted to say some brainstorming tools, although we at boot camp, Dan White introduced us to this concept of not brainstorming, but question storming. So asking the questions rather than trying to find the solutions right away. So there's a whole list of things that we have on tap. And then we always like to get that input from the casino marketers themselves to see what they want.
Sure, sure. And you brought up the volunteerism. This is the time of year for that. Obviously, it's the holiday season, so I imagine we will see a lot of amazing projects from casinos and their team members across the country. So to your point there, this is just it's amazing to me. This is all free, people. This is available. This is available to download if you need help with any of these services. Also, I will get in that you mentioned writing for GGB. If anyone's interested in looking at those, please go to GGB Magazine and search Julia Carcamo up at the top, and all of her wonderful articles for us will come up. But this has been great. Again, always love catching up with you. Anybody who's interested in you or your services, how can they find you?
Oh, well, they can always find me on LinkedIn. So if you know me, you know that I'm all over LinkedIn. But you can also go to the website, which is jcarcamoassociates.com.
And is registrations already open for stuff next year, for the boot camps next year?
We already got our first registrant for Casino Marketing Bootcamp New Orleans. So that's so exciting. We don't usually get them this far in advance, but one of the properties in Canada has already signed up to attend.
Well, that's awesome. Our neighbors to the north getting on things as quick as possible. And I'm sure that must be a gratifying feeling with all the work that goes into it. I'm sure year round. I'm sure that must be a great feeling. Yeah. Well, Julia, again, this has been great again. Always love having you on, and I'm sure our viewers do as well. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you for joining us for the GGB Gaming Supplier Showcase, our exclusive look at the best products and services produced by vendors for the gaming, iGaming, and sports betting industries. For more information about the GGB Supplier Showcase, contact Terry Brady at tbrady@ggbmagazine.com.